Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, in this fragile human endeavor, pause and confront the audacity of those who remain untouched by smoke and blood, yet presume to quantify the decision to go to war. They tally causes like accountants: resources, revenge, ideology, miscalculation. They reduce the moment when one leader or nation crosses the Rubicon to a spreadsheet, as if the weight of existence could be weighed on scales. Sun Tzu, in the opening of The Art of War, Chapter 1, declares without apology, war is a matter of vital importance to the state, the province of life or death, the road to survival or ruin. It is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. Yet the distant observer, safe in armchair certainty, dares to judge the calculus that balances annihilation against submission. Deeper still lies the illusion of empathy as remedy. How ceaseless we hear the invocation: empathize, feel their pain, see their humanity, and war will melt away. Noble in theory, futile in extremis. When survival hangs by a thread, when one side sees encirclement, starvation, or erasure, empathy is not a salve, but a sedative. It clouds the cold appraisal that Sun Tzu demands in Chapter 3. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. To know demands detachment. To feel risk paralysis. The plea for empathy assumes symmetry where none exists. It bids the besieged to weep for the besieger while arrows fly. History overflows with the graves of those who chose compassion over clarity. Olive branches returned as spears. In the shadow of impeding clash, empathy is a peacetime virtue the strategist must often set aside, lest hesitation become the true killer. We must, above all, refuse amnesia about the catalyst. Wars spring not from nothingness, but from accumulated pressures. Insulted honor, encroached borders, depleted pastures, broken deterrents. Forget these origins, and we invite repetition. Sun Tzu cautions in Chapter 2 that the supreme art lies in subduing without fighting, capturing cities without siege. But when that fails, the spark must be remembered unflinchingly. Sanitize the prelude, romanticize the instigator, and we blind ourselves to prevention. And in victory's aftermath, let us reject the inversion of blame. Do not fault the victors for the tears of the fallen. Victory is the harvest of preparation, discipline, and resolve. The defeated suffer not merely from superior blades, but from their own misjudgments, divisions, or arrogance. As Sun Tzu celebrates in chapter 6, the clever fighter excels in winning with ease, not through gratuitous cruelty, but through inevitability. To condemn the survivor for outliving the fray is to punish competence and reward folly. Nowhere in this dynamic more stark than in the saga of Genghis Khan. In his era, his wars were almost universally rejected and reviled by the civilized world he encountered. Contemporary chroniclers, Persian historians, Chinese court scribes, Islamic scholars branded him a calamity, a scourge sent by heaven, a barbarian tide of destruction that leveled cities, depopulated regions, and shattered ancient orders. The Khwarezmina Empire's insult to his envoys triggered a campaign of such ferocity that Baghdad, Samarkand, and Bukhara became synonyms for ruin. Millions perished. Entire populations were erased in retribution or terror. Europe trembled at distant reports. The settled kingdoms saw only apocalypse in the hoofbeat of horse archers. Resistance was moral, fierce, and near universal among the literate and powerful, yet utterly futile. Those wars were not accepted in any meaningful sense until conquest rendered acceptance irrelevant. Victory forged its own legitimacy. The Mongol Empire at its zenith, the largest contiguous land realm in history, imposed the Pax Mongolica, a century of relative stability across Eurasia. Trade exploded along revitalized Silk Roads. Merchants traveled unmolested from China to the Levant. Religious tolerance, unheard of in many prior empires, allowed Nestorians, Muslims, Buddhists, and Christians to coexist under one law. Meritocracy replaced rigid hierarchies. Diplomatic immunity and postal systems linked distant realms. What began as a universal outrage softened into grudging adaptation. Survivals rebuilt under Mongol administration. Intermarried, adopted innovations, and found in the enforced peace a prosperity absent amid prior fragmentation. The catalyst, unification of the fractious steppe tribes, revenge for betrayal, hunger for grazing lands and tribute, was reframed or eclipsed by the sheer fact of dominance. Genghis embodied Sun Tzu's ideal of decisive, maneuver-based warfare, striking weakness, avoiding prolonged attrition where possible, and securing victory so thoroughly that opposition crumbled into acquiesce. His campaign echoed the ancient master's counsel: subdue without endless battle when feasible. But when war came, make it total and irreversible. In the end, the tears of the fallen under Mongol hooves were not the victor's crimes, but the consequence of choices made on both sides: hubris and resistance, miscalculation and defiance. To blame the Khan for the suffering is to ignore how empires rise and fall on the same unforgiving logic. So let us abandon the audacity of quantification from afar. Discard the fantasy that empathy dissolves entrenched threats. Honor the catalysts that ignite conflict and withhold moral aversion from those who prevail. As Sun Tzu warns in chapter 13, he who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious. May this hard-won wisdom guard us before the next shadow falls. Oh, yeah. We started with fire, melon, and broke. In the dark, too cold. Hearts carrying legacies, carrying scars. But baby, we learned the first ingredients: trust. No secrets, no games, just us and God we trust. Or in each other.